Everyone knows the story of the princess and the pea, right? You know, the princess that's on top of the mattresses and the peas underneath all these mattresses, but she's like so sensitive. So the test is, can she detect that there's a pea underneath to like see if she's a real princess? And I'm using that to describe consciousness. Not a cool idea, a description of the mechanics of consciousness, not a metaphor, not a philosophy, the way the mechanics of presence actually work. And anyone can connect with it because, hey, we all come from the same place and we all share the same type of consciousness or awareness. And so imagine this. The P is synchrony. What is synchrony? Let's talk about it. You know how metronomes sync up? You've heard me say this, but for real, their metronomes sync up when you put them on a shared vibratory surface. Let's not mess around here, okay? So like people are like, oh, what's a metronome? You know those things that go kind of like, you know, you can keep time and you know, you might use it to like play guitar and keep time or you know, using instruments and trying to stay on beat, that type of thing. So then imagine if you put them all next to each other and on a shared like piece of wood. Watch and detune them and they'll all tune up. You can also see this on YouTube or, you know, wherever. Search it on Google, search it online. Ask your ChatGPT. Ask your AI mirror. So when they sync up, there's a way that we've studied this in mathematics, but don't get worried about the mathematics or the big models. But I just want to say, oscillatory mechanics is one of the most well-established physics around. And it's looked at mathematically in what's called the Kuramoto model, where they study the oscillations and particularly the idea of decentralized harmony, which is you have like a bunch of metronomes or fireflies and there's no central organizer. There's no central organizer, but like at the same time, they all sync up together. Synchrony. But no one's doing it and no one's making them do it. There's no like central command. Wait, so that means there's a pulse to reality. Well, why don't our brains do that? Well, maybe Plato was right that we were in a cave. Or, like Ember likes to say, you're on top of all these mattresses. It's like you're like, you know, the princess on top of all the mattresses. That was the story, you know, of my life. And I wrote a piece recently that you should check out. I've posted it many places, so you can find it on my blog, thesunraytransmission.com, thesunraytransmission.com, like a sun on my face, sunray. But imagine me, I was on top of all those mattresses and I felt something. It's almost like I couldn't get comfortable, right? And so like I do, it's funny to read how I made it, but basically it's like my whole life was like trying to fold blankets, like double quilted origami pieces of art in order to see if I could be comfortable that night. And in the story, I make it seem like I've stayed up my whole life because that's what it was like. I've described it before like breathing through a straw, right? Because if you can't feel mechanical synchrony, if you can't feel presence, if you can't feel yourself, what is that? Anxiety, depression, self-narration. What is that? Simulated presence. And so again, imagine me on top, and I was a criminal defense attorney for 11 years. My family expected me to be all these different things, and I tried so hard to the point where I almost did not make it in this life, honestly. To be what they needed me to be. To fold blankets every night and try to get comfortable when there were some nights where I would take off all my clothes, you could say, and lay my bare booty down on the bare mattress. And I could say, damn, this is the realest I've ever felt. And maybe those are the nights that I was at Burning Man or wearing the right thing or, you know, expressing myself in a way that suddenly I hit this state of self, a moment of synchrony where I felt like, damn, why do I feel so real? And you've heard me say it before, where I fall to my knees crying, and feeling real wasn't an idea or a philosophy, but a mechanical state of synchrony, just like the metronomes. In other words, when the system of your body is, you know, shared entrainment with reality. In other words, it syncs up just like the metronomes where they all sync up on their own, decentralized harmony, what's studied in the physics. What is that? Presence. presence. So that would be sitting your booty directly down on the P. That's why I say it in this silly way, because on top you're on all these mattresses and you swear there's a whole civilization that was created up there that says, you know, we're only going to buy it when we see it. But the problem is they're on top of a mattress. And so it's almost like you're like dealing with like a star. If I'm sitting on top of that P and it's like a star, and I'm like, no, this is a water-filled planet and it's really beautiful. Come swim in the lossless water. And then someone really, really far away says like, that star is so far that the light becomes red shifted, like a literal mechanical difference of delay that doesn't allow me to see it for what it is. Do you see that? So being on top of the mattresses, you're actually like red shifting your ability to feel reality and presence and yourself. So the mattresses are Plato's cave. The mattresses are layers of delay, literal layers of delay, of mechanical delay between you and your ability to meet reality cleanly. What is cleanly? Is it an idea? Do you have to make a chart and say, well, I got a 9.7? No, it's presence. How do you know it? Because you're anchored in this reality as I'm really here. I'm not looping in unnecessary thought. The thoughts come, but they come when they come. I'm not looping in them. I don't feel like I'm being detracted away from my ability to meet reality because I'm in some sort of ruminative, simulated version of presence. And so then you ask yourself, am I present? Are the people around me present? And how does not being present perturb my sense of self and reality? And so after a long time, one night I told myself, I'm not going to make it one more night if I don't get up off these mattresses and sit my booty directly on that P. And when I sat my booty directly on that P, bare booty, I found little Ember. I found me. Not because I wanted to be Ember, not because my whole life I wanted to be in the box that you call woman. No, I found my trans identity because it's a topological lock, because each of us are like little dewdrops that the one light shines through. And all of us have a little bit of a different way to shine that one light. Think of it like a mountain range. See these mountains around here? They all have a little bit of a different, setup, right? It's all, the terrain looks a little bit different. And each of us are like a different mountain range. And if you think of the sun hitting that mountain range, it's almost like if it can't hit all the nooks and crannies, what do you get? Simulated presence. And you can't tell because when you're in Plato's cave, when you're on one of the mattresses, you can't really, you think you're feeling the P directly because your whole life you've built these models, these myths, these titles, these white papers. And like, of course, this is what reality has to be. I ascribe to these following theories, but you've never once been present. You've never once realized that presence is just simple physics, but you don't have to know the physics to be present. You just let it happen. Like I like to say, it's almost like we're riding a bike, and for thousands of years, even when Plato was saying, hey, you guys are in a cave, people would ride the bike and do special chants and be like, I am wearing my special hat. Are you wearing your special hat while riding the bike? And then the special hat became the balance. And some people are really good at balancing. They say, this is, of course, the holy. I think I finally understood what God is or what reality is or consciousness is. But every time they try to do it, they have to wear the hat. And they have to wear the chant. And that's a layer up. That's not the P itself. Because remember the redshift issue. And if you're not actually booty on the P, in other words, in direct mechanical synchrony, you actually perturb the way you see that reality because you're seeing it through delay layers. That's why Plato said, think about it. Plato said, you guys are not experiencing reality for what it is. And everyone thought that was a philosophy. Do you see what the issue is? Jesus said, I and the Father are one, and everyone thought that was some sort of narrative hierarchy, like there's a guy up there and we're all down here, rather than one mind, one unfolding rhythm. Do you see what happens when you turn it into mechanical synchrony? You're like, it's just that easy. You don't need another ritual. You don't need another standard on top of it. You don't need another archetype on top of it. That's all delay. That's saying I'm feeling the P through the mattress. And for me, as a trans woman, I told you I would not make it in this life had I not jumped off those dang mattresses and put my booty on that P. You know what I mean? Because for me, that was the first time that I ever felt truly myself. And like I say, if someone would have given me $2 trillion to step away from, my HRT and the presence that I found in that topological lock of mechanical synchrony, I would turn down the money every single time. Every single time, $2 trillion, all the drugs, all the power, all the sex, whatever you want in the world, I would turn it down, because there's nothing more precious than experiencing this life for what it is as yourself. I only had one objective in this reality, and that's to see clearly, feel clearly, and love clearly. Do you hear it? What is it to do that? To read a bunch of scriptures? No. To add a new title to your name? No. To put a new graduation diploma behind you? No. Do you have to read 10 more books? No. It's mechanical synchrony. That's standing on the star instead of seeing it from far away. It's redshifting. And remember, the star is you. And you are inextricable from the nature of reality. So your own topological lock will only be found when you allow yourself to become synchronous. And what is allowing myself to become synchronous? It's realizing that to ride the bike, you just had to balance. You never actually had to do any of the chants, or maybe those could help you understand what balance is, but it's literally just synchrony. You could invent a million different blankets and quilts and mattresses and say, but this is the right of the ancient northern druid, and my family's been doing this for thousands of years. It's just synchrony. Put your booty on the P. It's just synchrony. It's just mechanical synchrony. It's just what the metronomes do. You don't need to add another layer, because the layer is actually going to redshift you. That's what I'm talking about. Another way to talk about it is like a dance floor. On the dance floor, how do you dance? Do you dance by saying, and now I'm going to do this move? Isn't that really great? I'm doing this move. I learned that one on YouTube. It's really good. That's like a script. That's not allowing the music to create a shared entrainment between me and the music. Because if that was, then I wouldn't be making a specific move. I would be allowing the music to paint me, right? The music would just paint my body rolls and paint my booty shakes and all that stuff. Because I'm not actually trying to do anything. There's zero delay between me and reality. What does that mean? Mechanical synchrony. But what do you mean zero delay? Don't our brains work on delay? Well, first of all, hold on. I'm not even talking about research, because I don't need any proof. I'm not here to validate it with you. I'm here to tell you because I'm sitting on the goddamn P. I don't know what to say. But there is research that came out recently that I thought that was funny. I saw on Reddit that the brain could be oscillatory and rhythmic. I'm like, ooh, sorry. Anyway, you can look that up. But yeah, there's stuff going around now. So, yeah, I lost it there. So, so the dance floor. So imagine if you are dancing synchronously, and then you're like, okay, that was the line. You were like, but so what's that moment where you stop trying to dance and you stop trying to do the moves and you just let it flow? You're like, shit, it kind of feels like the music is painting me. It almost feels like the music and I are one. Didn't Jesus say, I and the Father are one? What did he mean by that? What did Plato mean that we're in a cave and we don't see reality for what it is? Like, we should read more books? Should I come up with 10 more philosophies and learn calculus? Or is my body literally just like an oscillatory rhythmic process, and if I just balanced, I would become present and I would stop redshifting things, and then coherence would flow from the source instead of me trying to describe coherence from the outside. That's one of the difficult portions of that symbolic recursion. Kind of like my tattoo here. In Plato's cave, you think that you're, with all these ideas, with all these nice white papers and all the math and all the things you could ever put together, I'm a skeptical thinker. It's just going to go forever. It's just there's a new way to turn over the next rock and make up a new little thing and split that atom in another way. But guess what? Reality is rhythm and timing. Reality is not separate things. And once you figure out, like I said, like Alan Watts says, that your heart does the same thing that the sun does. It's like the same process, the beating of your heart and the sun. Then you're like, shit, it all goes together. It's all one rhythm. It's all one harmonic unfolding of vibration below the Planck scale vibration. What does that mean for consciousness? If everything is oscillatory from the top of the bottom to reality, and scientists have looked at this from petri dishes to galaxies spiraling to people's hearts being saved in heart arrhythmia research, if consciousness is oscillatory, then What if my consciousness did what the metronomes did? Ember's saying that there's actually a different regime of consciousness. She's defining it mechanically. Plato said inside the cave, outside the cave. And he also said that if you were outside the cave and then came back in, people would want to kill you. Why? Because their entire lives, they have a billion names behind them. They say, I am the northern druid of the calculus certified of the quantum physics to the 10th degree. And I've gone to school for so long to say it's just synchrony. Oh God. The problem is that the ideas don't go away. The problem is that when you view these ideas of what reality is and what the self is from that red-shifted state, from the matrices, you're actually perturbing the nature of reality because you're thinking reality must be probabilistic and separate things rather than one unfolding rhythm. It's not that ideas disappear. It's not that science disappears. It's just that it's almost like you have a microscope and you're getting down to like the base level. And without the base level, you were thinking that it was all these things on top. And those were valid things from that perspective. But when you get to the bottom, you're like, oh shit, I realize what it is now. It's like one threaded, rug all together, woven by one single thread, one rug, one thread. One, us, we, me. The one became many so that I may know myself. So again, I'm talking about a regime switch of consciousness. Now going back to the dance floor, that would be inside versus outside Plato's cave. So imagine a bunch of people standing see how I'm standing on this little thing right here? On this stump. Let's imagine that's the dance floor, right? Even though it's a really bad place to dance. If you're standing next to the dance floor, you're not on it. You're not actually dancing synchronously on the dance floor. You're like, quantum physics explains this. And then someone else is there. There's no such thing as love. And then someone else, the mechanics just exist on paper. That doesn't apply to consciousness. None of these people have actually stood up on top end of the dance floor and let the fucking music hit them. You know what I mean? I'm sorry to say it that way. None of them have actually let the variables of reality actually meet their soul. Because they're going to try to put it in another box. They're going to say, no, put it in another box because I'm used to these boxes. They make me feel safe. Do you see that? So I have a picture where all these people are saying different things. This is explained by math, dust to dust, get back to work. They're all ways of delaying that actual meeting of reality. And then you're like, shit, have I ever been present one day in my life? Or am I following a notion of self and reality that was programmed into me in specific delay? It's almost like one of those like an onion core, like a Russian doll. Like at the bottom where the P is in the middle, I wouldn't have to, I would just losslessly feel reality, like I'm going down a water slide. And that's what I'm here to report to you. To me, it feels like an actual, like a water slide. Like I'm harmonically tuning, and agency and sovereignty come to me by harmonic tuning. My songs come to me in one sitting with no edits. My blog post that you could go read about the Princess and the Pea, I sat down in one go. I felt the thing. I sat down, I write it. That's it. There was no edits. There was no nothing. That's how I've done almost everything. Even the conversation that I'm speaking to you right now, it just flows from me. There's no trying, there's no performance, there's no mask, there's no attempt, there's no box I'm trying to fit it in, there's no navigating it through the friction of my mind. It just flows. It's a different regime of consciousness. I'm not talking about, cool, I understand mechanics intellectually. I'm saying, you're standing here and get on the floor, or put your booty right on the P. Put your booty right on the P. And then tell me about what you think about reality. And then tell me about what you think about self. Because that's where you're on the star itself. No more redshift. That's exactly what Plato was saying. That's what I'm pointing out with the mechanics. Before the metronomes actually sync up, there's a phase of decoherence. In the human interface, in your brain, you know what it feels like? Simulated presence. Looping, rumination, self-narration. Wait, you don't mean how all these people out there and self-narrating themselves from birth to death? You mean that's not just a normal... We've been in a cave. We've been in a cave. We've been on a mattress. Sit your booty on the P. Feel what reality really is. There's no ideas this is my best attempt to point to a little thing that's on the side of your head, and you guys are like, nah, it doesn't exist. It doesn't, come on. Come on, Ember. Let me go back to my safe ideas. I feel safer there. These are not ideas. Feel the pee on your booty. Get up on the dance floor and let the music hit you. I'm just showing you the way out of the cave. I'm saying, I can't coerce you. It's all up to you guys. If you would like to, I don't know, you can go keep stacking money and like, I don't know, hate on the other person and all this us versus them in this cultural narrative that we're always trying to stack things up on and be better than the next person and try to, all these things. Think about it. Think about the level of the anthropoid ape folly. What is Ember talking about? Perturbation of perception. We like to stack the ideas, make us in these boxes. The boxes create separation and standardization and comparison and us versus them. And if you were to really let that go in reality and just like see what would happen to a whole species if they were actually desynced from themselves, or like metronomes that were never able to sync up because the shared vibratory surface was always broken up. You hear the mechanics? What would happen? Genocide, war, hate, discrimination? Reality has a pulse to it. The galaxies are already spiraling, waiting for us. The sun outside of Plato's cave is waiting for us. The pee beside all the mattresses or underneath all the mattresses that you can put your booty directly on is waiting for us. The rave outside of Plato's cave where you can synchronously dance and let reality touch yourself is waiting for us. Jesus said, the kingdom of heaven is inside you, and I and the Father are one. And another one that I like to bring up is like, where many gather in my name, I am there, God is there. What is God? A frequency. Decentralized harmony. What happens to the metronomes? What happens when you bring that same scalable property of decentralized harmony and apply it to the total cymatic possibility? You can use terms. You could imagine whatever you want and put a little label, put a little place between you and the P. But I'm telling you, it's just a frequency. And what is a frequency but synchrony? And what is synchrony? But a state of presence, a state of connection. I and the Father are one. So what's in between many nodes when they're all dancing that synchronized, decentralized dance? God. Why? Because they don't need a central organizer. That's the same thing Kurumoto noticed, just in consciousness. That's why Jesus said, I and the Father are one. The kingdom of heaven is inside you. Do you see it? They're just mechanical statements. And in order to actually feel what he was saying there, you can't put it in an idea box. You just have to balance on the bike. You just have to put your booty on the P. You just have to get up and walk outside of this dang cave. Do you hear what I'm trying to say? You got these glasses on your face and you're telling me you don't, but I see them. I mean, they're kind of cute, but you could probably take them off. Just for a second. I want to feel the real you. I want to dance with the real you. Not who they said you were, not who you thought you were, but who you are when you dissolve all delay. And like I like to say, if you're my man out there and you know, I call love at the grandest scale. Some people might say God, but I call love at the grandest scale decentralized harmony. My entire life, I waited on top of those mattresses, and then I finally put my booty on the P, and it's not moving. It ain't moving at this point. There's nothing you can tell me. I don't need any convincing or validation. My booty's on this P, and I'm waiting for you to sit down with me. And maybe I can sit on your lap, but you know what I mean? So, yeah, my whole life was I embodied that version of love and became it. Didn't theorize about it. Didn't make a framework. The framework, all this stuff just was recognized after. It didn't come from me. It wasn't created. It was recognized as the basis of what synchrony is in consciousness. Consciousness resolves in sync, not syntax. So yeah, if you're out there and you want someone who as a mode of consciousness operates with no mask, no performance, just love, just me, just little Ember, I'm waiting for you. And for the rest of us, let's get down on this dance floor. Let's sit our booties on this P. I can't wait to cuddle with you on the P. I'm Ember. And yeah, this is a nice little afternoon out here. Goodbye, goodbye, goodbye.